Introduction. The Vietnam War remains one of the most controversial events in American history, and it bitterly divided the nation. So it's somewhat ironic that the most famous monument commemorating the war is also one of the most serene spots in the nation's capital. Indeed, the famous Vietnam Wall is a place of almost eerie silence where even children cease their chatter. Rising out of the ground like an ancient obelisk, it calls upon its visitors to stop talking and to look and gaze upon the magnitude of America's great mistake, a war that began in whispers and ended in tears. As Professors Sherry Carlson and John Hocking pointed out in their 1987 paper, A Message for My Brother, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial as Rhetorical Situation, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial is not a traditional war memorial. No shining flags fly, no bronze statue of brave heroes stands tall beside it, no heroism is lauded. In fact, it is not a memorial to the war at all, but rather a memorial to the 2.7 million Americans who served in Vietnam, and especially to those who were killed. It focuses our attention on those who did not survive the war. The Vietnam War is reduced to its inevitable result. The memorial suggests the message, "In war, young men die. Here are their names." At the same time, the monument speaks volumes, not just about the nature of war, but the utter catastrophe that occurred in Southeast Asia. Whereas the World War II Memorial has a grand design that honors contributions and soldiers by state, visitors who may have come from there or the bustling Lincoln Memorial nearby are often struck by the length of the wall, a solemn but powerful reminder that Vietnam claimed nearly 60,000 American lives. Given that, it should come as no surprise that the Vietnam Veterans Memorial is one of the most visited places in the city, with millions coming and paying tribute each year. Chapter 1. Save for them a place. If you are able, save for them a place inside of you, and save one backward glance when you are leaving for the places they can no longer go. Be not ashamed to say you loved them, though you may or may not have always. Take what they have taught you with their dying, and keep it with your own. And in the time when men decide and feel safe to call the war insane, take one moment to embrace those gentle heroes you left behind. Major Michael Davis O'Donnell, January 1970. Major O'Donnell went missing and was presumed killed in action weeks later. American history is replete with examples of politicians, citizens, and veterans planning and constructing war memorials shortly after the end of the war, or even while it remains ongoing, as was the case a few times during the Civil War. To a degree, these plans can be something of a coping mechanism for those caught up in the conflict. Thus it seems somewhat fitting that this was not the case for the Vietnam War, a quagmire that was completely unique in the annals of American history. For several reasons, serious consideration for a memorial commemorating the Vietnam War did not come until well after the last American soldier was killed. To start, the war itself had no truly concrete beginning, as there was no moment in time when President Kennedy or President Johnson announced that the United States was actually at war. Instead, the country almost slid into the conflict as more and more soldiers were sent to the jungles to fight, and for several years some referred to it not as a war, but as a conflict, a much more neutral term. Furthermore, what truly separated the Vietnam War from previous wars in American history is that the United States actually lost in Vietnam. Politicians and historians alike refer to the nation's withdrawal, but once the North Vietnamese overran the South and united the country as a communist one, those who fought and died there understandably viewed the withdrawal as the equivalent of a defeat and a sign that all they had suffered was in vain. This was not something that many wanted to memorialize. Finally, and most importantly, the attitude of the country toward the war, both during it and in the initial years following it, remained raw. During World War I and World War II, Hollywood produced no shortage of patriotic movies glorifying whatever cause the nation was fighting for. But given how controversial Vietnam was, it's no surprise that such movies weren't made during the 1960s. Vietnam veterans were just as likely to be spit on as they were to be respected in the late 1960s and early 1970s.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.